Megatronic is back. Come to this. Hold on, let me make sure you come to this. We're live again.
We're back.
We're live again. We're back. We're doing it apparently. So I'm just making sure that things are going well on the behind the scenes. Apparently aren't. So while we're all failing our job, let's go back to what the hell were we talking about? We were distracted.
Nani?
What?
Yep.
There are 50 people watching us right now. Thank you guys.
Yep.
Thank you, but we're so sorry.
We're sorry that you have to be subjected to this.
Yeah, I might have put this out on my Twitter.
You might have put. Well, you're all seeing
Maybe.
right?
The grin.
And you're seeing our lovely problem episode.
Oh yeah.
Glitch. Behind the scenes, Glitch. Mr. Megatronic is here. You need to go to Mr. Megatronic. He is in another layer. Guide him here, because I am doing this.
Got it.
Don't let him leave again.
Chain him down.
There we go. You know who our third guest is because we had to do that real quick. However, yes, what the heck we were talking about?
You mentioned about the potato badge, and I said I had really bad internet.
Oh, we were talking about internet. I'm talking about internet. I'm on Starlink. But I'm gonna be getting better internet. But
Yeah, I'm on ADS. I'm on VDSL, and as I say, I can only get like 30 meg down because I'm right on the end of the line.
I used to have VDSL. I used to have that. Oh no, it was ADSL. I think I had 50 down and 1 up. No, I had 25 down and 1 up. 25 down, 1 up. It was terrible.
Oh yeah, it is.
Like, just couldn't do anything. And then random things would happen to my internet, like just not work. The SNR ratios were terrible, and you call the people out. Like you call the people, it's like, hey, my internet's screwing up. And they're like, oh, it looks fine on our end.
Or they use the excuse of, have you checked your settings in Windows, or have you done this? And it's like, hang on, what the hell's that got to do with my internet connection? Nothing.
Oh, the classic is it must be your house wiring.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, and then I called them out and their bullshit by taking a Cat 6e cable and routing from my modem. I took a Cat 6e for the VDSL to the drop line through the phone jack. So it was Cat 6, twisted pair, to their drop box, and it still had SNR ratio issues.
I still think the best one I ever had was they tried to fob me off that it was because I was using Linux.
Wow. Wow, that's like.
Yes, your operating system choice matters.
Yeah, my operating system choice is what makes my internet slow. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So DSL, I'm glad to be off it. Elon Musk, take my money for now. But for now, fiber is coming. Finally.
Yeah,
living
I'm
out in
waiting
the
on
sticks.
fiber. Woo.
Yeah, you getting fiber? Hopefully. Some point.
Hopefully next year. Yeah.
Yeah, fiber is the way to go, and then screw Starlink. Yeah.
Good lord, Ray.
just
How
glad
long
we
have you been
don't-
waiting for that fiber?
About a year now.
Jesus, I remember when you first ordered
It's down
that.
to the rail company. It's down to the rail company now because the deal fell through where they were running the cable with some farmer or something. So now they're having to run it under the train lines, and they're having to do everything with like the rail company now, and apparently they're slow as well. It's because they're always on strike.
Yeah. So go to the spectator layer. If put the thing. Yeah. Anyway, we are doing good. We have like most viewers ever, and we're like, yeah, you guys do that in the back. Yeah, do that in the back.
Professional.
Our most professional stream.
Yeah.
So Twitch doubled us. Okay. 25 people still have to watch us. Still us being not professional. We're furries. What do you expect?
There's nothing professional. There's
Yeah,
nothing
there's the
professional
whole
about
world,
being a
there's no-
furry.
There's nothing professional, period. I think there's nothing. Every professional is just straight up lying.
Yeah.
I mean, we only make the internet work, so just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, they're just in fursuit over there,
It was funny actually because when you were going on about the whole Linux thing with Geens and compiling and everything, God, I remember when we used to work on the Second Life viewer, and it took
Oh my
nearly half an
God.
hour to compile the damn viewer.
Still
Freaking-
takes half an hour.
It still takes half an hour to compile the viewer. Yeah, it's disgusting.
Isn't part of it? Doesn't it compile a WebKit?
No, but it's the
No.
linking. It's all the code linking at the end that takes forever.
Yeah, because I know I've had the worst thing I've ever had to compile on Gen 2 is Qt WebKit.
I think the worst thing I
That's
ever
pretty brutal.
compiled on Gen 2 was back in like 2005, 2006, and that was compiling KDE. That used to take like 10 hours.
All right, Qt WebKit is so brutal. One package on my Threadripper. I don't have enough RAM because it wants 96 gigabytes of RAM. I have 64 and it's not enough, so it starts using swap. And I have 24 cores, 48 threads. It still takes about 4 or 5 hours.
As Geens is sitting there grinning at the amount of RAM he's got on his Threadripper machine.
I don't
192
need-
on a 5975.
Yeah, see, you've got
But
that much
also-
RAM. I want to upgrade my RAM. I have 4 slots that are still available. I just upgraded my server to 384 gigabytes. So,
Everybody, let's laugh at the poor people here.
but my server is DDR3, so it was dirt cheap.
That's pretty fair, yeah.
I was going to say, DDR3 isn't too bad actually. It's still quite comparative right now for servers at least.
Yeah, server
Yeah.
for running quad channel DDR3 on 2 different processors, so technically 8 channels. Yeah,
Still pretty good.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's only
as I say,
$500 of RAM.
I wouldn't be using Windows if VR ran nicely on Linux.
It doesn't. That's what sucks.
But the other problem is because I
wanted it to
have
work there
the
so
Vive,
well,
because
so
I have the
much.
Vive Pro Eye and the facial tracker, they don't work.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like currently I'm traveling like through Europe and stuff like that, and my mobile headset now is a Quest Pro, and I had to like go through and work on a mod and stuff like that to get the face and eye tracking working.
Yeah.
And I'm on a pretty good laptop, but still a laptop all the same. It's not going to be the same as like a proper, like my Threadripper at home, right? But damn, like even on a Threadripper, just doing this stuff, it's a pain. It's just
Yeah.
constantly a pain. It's sad too. I'm really hoping that Deckard ends up materializing.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's a pain, just making sure that everything works in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I got my VR working in Linux, except I tried to make Neos work in Linux, and it is so jank
It's not
in the Linux
too
version.
bad. It's not too no. Run the Proton version. It's usually a bit
Yeah.
better.
Proton
Oh, yeah.
version immediately crashes.
Wow,
Whoa,
that's unusual.
that's
I've
new.
never had. I was
Proton
going to say,
version?
Actually,
I,
no. Yeah.
Immediate crash.
I ran everything under Proton along with Neos and had no
I
issues
tried.
whatsoever.
I tried. My Gen 2, something must be not compiled right for the Proton version because it just goes boop, crash immediate on launch.
Well, the thing is, with Gen 2, it could literally be anything. It could just be one wrong letter.
It could be my use flags aren't exactly what it's expecting.
I was going to say, it probably is down to use flags or something, yeah, because that usually
But-
can cause like the smallest issue.
But what use flag do I need to enable? And there's the problem, and I don't know, and nobody has given me an answer, and I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah,
know how
because-
I'm going to just go through it and just
Because
figure out which use flag I need to put in my system.
We've actually heard like success cases with running like Neos and Steam VR generally under Proton. So like hearing this,
Yeah.
I mean, like first of all, like from a support perspective, even assuming that the current what we'll call the discomfort, the current situation that we have, without it, that's a little bit of a hard one to debug because you're running through basically an emulation layer in a sense.
Yeah.
And that makes things difficult. that being said, that's still no excuse for us to do better on just Linux support generally. And I think that's very much a thing that we need to focus on.
People who've made wine and you calling it an emulation layer, they would be mad at you.
Sorry.
They'd be mad. You know what wine is,
Yeah.
right?
Wine is not
Sorry.
Wine is not an emulator. Wine is not an emulator. Internet. My satellite. Welcome to satellite.
Yeah,
We're back.
You're back.
We're
Yo!
back.
Yay! Satellite. Thank you, Elon Musk. I can't wait till that's over.
I didn't
Thank
wonder
you
what was
and
going on then. I
goodbye.
was like, everything was going robotic, and I was like, ah!
Yeah.
Me?
No,
As
it's
I was
not
saying,
you.
if I
It's
may.
Elon Musk.
We're used to it at this point. We just say, "Oh no." Anyways,
Yeah.
I just blame the
Let's
dog in the
assume-
cup.
What?
I just blame the dog in the cup.
That sounds pretty fair.
Yes,
yeah, let's
that
just
is
blame
good.
the dog
Thank
in the
you. You
trap.
are-
We need a scapegoat.
He is. He's the scape dog in a cup.
Yeah.
escape dog.
Escape
dog.
dog.
So, we do have our third guest here. So yes, we are going to have to take a quick break and get him set up. We have reached time for this one. Thank you, Wraith, for being here. We're gonna
Yep.
shove you down the couch further to get our robot and to sit here. So we'll be right back. We will continue to blame all our problems on Matarin. And when we come back, Matarin might have a black eye. Don't worry, he fell down the stairs. Be right back. Welcome back to Context Plus. Now our third guest, he had a little bit of a time zone issue, but that's all set. He is here. He made it. We don't have to drag in our substitute guests, which, all right, yeah, we're not going to talk about substitute guests. We're not going to talk about the substitute guests. So our third guest, you probably heard me say, Mr. Megatronic, come on over, come on the stage, come on, you're on camera. Hey, you're on camera now.
Hey.
All right. Welcome to Chaos.
Well, thank you.
Chaos Plus.
Chaos Plus. That's $3.99 subscription a month, I think.
Is that like a new
$4.99,
Warhammer
pretty
game
close.
mode?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, why
Yeah,
pay
then
for
you can
chaos
just-
when you can just get a can of kerosene?
Jeez.
I'm just saying.
Of course, the
So-
Evoli is the one that wants to whip Flamen.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Avalis set everything on fire. Keep away from Avalis. Do not associate with them ever. Don't associate with these things. They will ruin your life.
I've also found that they just wind up in every place that you encounter, so that's gonna be a hard ask, but
Avalis have taken over Neos.
pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
The guns? Really?
You can't have guns
This
on the
is what-
set, you know. Just,
That's
This
not
is
a
why you
gun,
supposed
that's
to
a
put out the
bullet.
traps and
all right. So, hello, welcome to Chaos Plus, and so Megatronic. Let's see, what do you do around Neos?
Well, I've been on Neos for. I first showed up in late 2018. And I was like, nope. And then I came back in April of 2019, and I was like, okay, I can work with this. I'm a I'm a graphic artist. I'm a computer animator of 23 years, but I also just like to use design as a way to excite people, make folks interested. I design a bunch of interesting avatars. I try to make little captivating devices and experiences for people. I haven't honestly done too much compared to probably every single person in this room, but at the same time, I've been a long-term evangelist of the platform, and I'm just constantly impressed by people and inspired creatively, and I hope to do the same for others.
Yeah, I was just distracted because I see editing gizmos coming up, and we're supposed to be filming and not editing. Can
Is
you
that a
just stop
Cartesian?
editing the world for 5 minutes?
For 5
I can
This is
see it.
Neos.
It's
This is
distracting
There
us.
has to be the rule is in Neos. There's got
distracting
to be an
the people
inspector
on
somewhere.
set.
Listen, we have a minimum number of inspectors. We need to go
Yeah.
through and respect that.
We're inspectors.
I mean, is that
We
a
respect the
Cartesian gizmo in your
inspectors.
pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
By the way, which handed are you? Left or right?
I am left-handed.
Oh,
Just
is
like
the-
Unity.
Yes. Oh yeah, we got well, I do the engineering axis, so it's Y up and down instead of Z up and down.
Well, it's even
that-
funner when I'm going through and trying to translate between OpenXR and Unity, as I've recently had to do. What do you mean we're right-handed? Oh,
This is specifically
Right.
to Newt. This one is specifically for Newt.
It is.
yes, yes, yes.
Come on, Newt.
Oh god.
Please stop
Professionalism.
editing the whale for 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Yes.
What are they broken?
And in the morning, I
What
make
did
a
you
waffle.
break?
Sorry, I just saw some Z fight and I had to adjust.
Neos, okay.
Yeah.
Neos in a nutshell is, I think this will be cool. You start editing something. Oh shit, I broke it, and then you spend the next like 20 minutes fixing it.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I
20
remember there
minutes.
was a time where somebody would go into broadcast and going, "I'm about to expose root in the inspector. Hold on to your butts." So,
Yeah, don't open root. That's like the worst thing ever.
uh,
Just bringing out the VIRK card.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god,
Well,
please no.
honestly, though, that's the thing is I've been here long enough. People think that I have this deep understanding of Neos on a technical level, but I'm a graphic artist. I use cheating to make something that looks sophisticated. So whenever people come to me and they're just like, "Hey, I got this complicated, convoluted logics problem," but the good news is that all I have to do is say, "Oh, sorry, without component access, I can't pull that off."
You just like, oh, I don't have builder here, so
Yeah, sorry, you know,
sorry, I
the
don't know
that's
component
builder,
access,
don't-
you know.
Yeah,
The funny
that's
thing is, that just reminds me of the whole thing that people assume that because you're on the Neos team, you know how to do logics and work with components, and I'm like, oh, hell no, I don't know this.
Listen, I'm just the graphics guy, you know, and if you come to me and you say, hey, can I stack materials this way? The answer is, stop it.
Yeah.
Get some help.
What's the best position for this to be in the render queue? The
answer is no.
Zero.
The answer is
Everywhere. No, zero. Yes, it's false.
-1. That
Negative
it'll
one.
automatically figure it out.
Everything I get -1.
Yes,
I'll figure it out.
everything.
Trust me.
The rendering engine will figure out where everything should be in the render queue. Who cares about Z fighting or anything? It's just gonna figure it out.
So
Yeah.
I have
I mean, hey,
something
it can't be
to
worse than my
add.
employer.
What do you have in hand now?
I have been in Neos for 2,689 hours straight, and I still don't know how a lot of this fucking game works.
Well, see, that's the neat part. You
Well,
don't.
the first,
Yeah.
that's the neat part. You know,
Yeah. When do I get good? You don't. Yay!
Yeah.
honestly, you know, I was so happy. I made this glorious logics thing that I packed into a frame. I did all this graphical stuff to make it easy to use for layman's like myself. And I was like, this is going to help so many people. And then I show it off to somebody, and they go, "That frame won't pack. You got to use red print." And I'm like. It's like
Oh my god! Don't get me
it's
started.
It's like
oh,
I will spend 5 hours innovating something that functionally works, and then someone goes, "Oh, we have a component that does that." I'm like, "Oh,
Oh,
okay."
that.
I'm sorry. I guess I missed the release notes for that one.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing.
Time making something super complicated, and you're just like, oh, there's just one button you could have pressed.
Well, you see, every time I'm making something, you know, I'm coming from the standpoint of I know what I want in the end, and I'm not, and I'm a programmer in the mindset of I understand the rationale of programming, but I am absolutely not a self-professed programmer. I'm a I just want to beeline right to an endpoint. So I'll do all these convoluted, complicated things to do something that's, you know, programmatically simple, but it works in the end and it gives me the warm fuzzies. So, you know, isn't that all we're after?
We're all after the feeling in our hearts of just somebody appreciated what we did.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter. 7,832 slots. It works, right?
Yeah. If I can equip it and it doesn't boot me out of the instance, I'm happy.
As long as it boots everybody
Yeah.
else, I'm fine.
Yes.
So
They could
long
be
as it
alone.
commits war crimes against other people, I'm totally fine with that. So long as it didn't commit a war crime against me.
It works for me.
Absolutely.
It works for me. Screw everyone else.
Yes.
Exactly. See,
we'll
that's the
fix that in the
mentality
plane
we
release.
all need to have.
Yes.
We need to have a good return back to the days of Second Life, where it's just like, good luck, everybody else, right?
Second
Yeah.
Life gray goo attacks.
Oh no.
Oh, good lord.
Somebody has tipped over a garbage can in the alley. We have ingredients for our meal. You know.
Grey goo fences. No, thank you. Never again.
It was honestly more. It was honestly more like you trip over a garbage can, and now there's like 3,000 garbage cans. So congratulations.
Yeah.
Gave birth.
There's 3,000 self-replicating garbage cans.
Yeah, pretty much. That was Grey Goo.
Context on this. Did a Grey Goo situation happen in Second Life?
Oh yeah.
God, so many times. Oh,
Because
Jesus.
you couldn't
man.
have done it.
Yeah.
It was so easy to code it.
Oh,
You just,
that
like,
kind of Grey Goo. Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah, Grey Goo's pretty common.
I mean,
Yeah.
like there are straight up, and obviously there's parts of this I can't talk about, but like there are Grey Goo filters on Second Life nowadays. They're surprisingly robust now. But yeah, like there was the let's see here, what's a good one? The Sonic Ring thing, where there were like little rings that looked like something that came out of Sonic the Hedgehog. Someone would run into them, 2 more would spawn from the sky. So, you know, of course, you have other people run into them, and 2 more would spawn from the sky for every collision there was. That was a pretty popular one way back in the day.
That's more
Oh,
a
dear.
Hydra head situation than a Grey Goo or paperclip maker. Like,
Oh no! Well, here's the thing: you could spawn any arbitrary number of them. That's the thing. So 2 was like the easy one to deal with, but like there were situations where they'd set them up to spawn 5 or 10 or 20, and then every single time someone would run into them or they'd interact with something or collide with something, there'd just be more that would spawn. So
Then you got the physics glitches for Havoc Engine.
Oh,
Oh,
goodness.
don't get started on
Shoving
that.
something under the
Oh,
terrain
Havoc.
was always a fun one because shoving something under the terrain for a long time would just crash the sim. Thankfully, we fixed that one, but still.
I
That was a
remember
thing for a long
Havoc
time.
1.
Oh,
Where you could go 2 million
pain.
meters underground. With the
So
physics
much
glitch,
pain.
and it would actually
So
screw your
much
assets.
pain.
It would screw your
Yeah.
inventory and your asset system because you would go 2 million meters underground and it would throw everything off for some reason.
I mean, before I was even a Linden, like that was some fun stuff right there. So
Hey, Gaines, tortured Tauruses. I just saw that in chat. I just saw that
Why?
Flame said.
No.
Flame said here, right? Second Life Nutshell Original
Oh,
Crasher.
of course it's
tortured
Flames.
Taurus.
Tortured Tauruses.
No.
Tortured Tauruses. That's like S&M for people who were born in
Yeah.
May.
well, okay, so
Yeah,
so
sounds
let's
like
provide
it.
a little bit
Yeah.
of context
Yeah,
here.
that sounds like it. That sounds like
Provide a
sounds just
little
like
bit
it.
of context here. So what Flame is talking about when it comes down to tortured Tauruses is Second Life has a very robust primitive system because that was kind of like how you build things in Second Life way back in the day, and you could do all sorts of things that we called primitive torture because prims or primitives all had these varying different parameters they could apply to them because they were all algorithmically generated and stuff like that. So we would go through and give you a bunch of different options to go through and set the basic shape for things. Well, one thing you do is torture a Taurus. I know this sounds really weird for everyone tuning in, but basically you could go through and do some really funky physics stuff with Tauruses from the get-go. And if you were to go through and do what we call tortured Tauruses, where we'd set certain parameters for these shapes, you could crash the sim.
Yeah.
Or at least make it lag to death. Ages ago, thankfully it's not a thing anymore, but you could do this a long time ago.
now one thing
Back
I
when the
remember.
dinosaurs roamed the
I
earth.
remember making in that Second Life primitive system, which is a really cool system, that you could
Yeah.
make a prim that was less than 1 pixel in size.
Oh, jeez.
Euclid is spinning in his 5th dimensional space.
So it would never
Ah.
render because it's less than 1 pixel, but it's physically there in the sim. So you'd never be able to select it because it's less than 1 pixel. Because it doesn't. We don't in Second Life. You don't really have an inspector system. You would never select it. If you
Yeah.
deselected it, it's gone. It's in the sim.
By the way, anyone who's curious about why we have what we call the land impact system, this is why, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
So
Everything it has a place and everything in its place.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
For
definitely.
better and worse.
Yeah.
I'll find a way out. You can't chain me.
Try me.
I'll get out of the simulation.
no, you and
Try
I will.
you.
You'll get
It's
out of the
games, you don't try
simulation. You're
games.
stuck in a
I'm
cup.
I'm afraid to try.
Wake up and smell the
That's a good
ashes.
response.
All right, we are very off topic. But Megatronic is a graphic designer. Do you have things to show that you designed, like some cool shit?
Okay, I actually do, and
Show
it's
off.
it's not pornography this time.
Wow!
Let's see.
Yay!
No, when you're
friendly.
a freelance
Excuse me?
graphic artist, that's we all know what that means.
You draw porn.
let's see. Only between work, but I'm gainfully employed, so I don't have to do it for work. I'll do it for fun. Let's see. So
That's like going like, yeah, I don't do this sort of thing for work. I do it for fun.
Your roommate comes in, just like, "Hey, do you want to see what you're working on?" No.
No. No. What you do is that you go through and say, "Yeah, that's what I'm doing for work." It's like, but what were you working on that was making so many noises coming from your room? Oh, that was for fun.
No, it's more like my wife is like, shouldn't that be shinier? And I'm just like, yeah, probably.
Yo, shiny, yo.
So oddly enough, I've at a young age, I wanted to do tech support, and then I realized that I didn't have the. Again, 15, 16 years old, I dropped out of high school because I just had no fucks to give for that. I can't swear, can I?
You can't swear. I said fuck.
Oh, okay. And then I got my GED that summer, and I was just like, I'm done. And then, of course, I worked for the federal government for a little bit because my dad worked there. And then I felt like I wanted to help people. I like helping people. I could do technical stuff. Technical stuff in 2000 is different than technical stuff today. I had to worry about COM-port and DMA and IRQs and all that stuff. But other than that, I realized that if I wanted to be profitable in tech support, I also had to be a bit of an asshole. So I figured, okay, you know what? I like actually doing drawing and artwork and stuff. So I started to learn, self-teach myself 3D computer animation. And then learning to model in 3D Studio Max way back. The first program I ever used was a program called Rhinoceros, which is a NURBS modeling package, and it's still around, and it's actually pretty good for things like architecture and product design. But little by little,
I think I've heard of that. I used to do 3D. My first thing I started in 3D was
like one of the
Milkshape 3D.
Oh yeah,
oh, man.
No,
that brings me back.
Lightwave
was
back
that,
on the
that?
Amiga.
Yeah, a new tech Lightwave on the Amiga.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's your Rhino, Lightwave, Cheetah
Cinema
3D
4.
was a big
Cinema.
Cinema.
Oh yeah, Cheetah.
Cinema too.
Yeah.
Cheetah. Oh my goodness! So like back on like classic PowerPC Mac, like that was like easily the most accessible one you could get to, and then Moto came out and just completely changed the landscape for a little bit there.
There was also a period of time where every GeoCities backdrop was made in Bryce. It was just this alien landscape with a reflective ocean and cones of mysterious minerals sticking through the top.
GeoCities.
I totally forgot about Bryce. Holy hell.
And then Daz came out after.
Bryce and Poser were kind of like the two places, and then
Poser. I used Poser so much, especially for Second Life.
Poser was such a big thing way back in the day.
Oh yeah, and a lot of the people who worked on Poser actually went off to develop Daz, because Daz was an offshoot of it, and they were actually directly compatible, their files and their assets and things like that. And then they just kind of went on their merry way.
Didn't it become like Daz Poser or something like that, or was it just Daz 3D? Like, didn't it move to Daz?
It didn't move to it. It actually lingered, and it still exists. Corel bought it, along with Bryce and a few other pieces of software. But the assets were interchangeable. So for a long time, Daz/Poser assets existed. But then Daz started doing the whole Genesis thing, which isn't compatible. Anyway.
Go back to what you were doing there.
I started enjoying the concept of modeling to fabricate, and there's a whole bunch of time where I worked at an education center where I've created over 200,000 PowerPoint slides and 80,000 textbook pages about bloody teeth, and over time, and when I finally got sick of that and I quit and I left, I actually got to work for the MakerBot company.
Cool.
Back when they had a soul. And you know the little robot character that MakerBot had, that little it was like a little, his body was a 3D printer and he had little hook arms and little cute eyes. I designed that, and they gave me a printer for it. And then following that, they released their replicator, which is the last wooden printer, and they gave me one of those. And to say thank you, I took apart my Thingamatic and I designed.
Oh,
That's big. Why is that
that's
big?
huge.
That is so
Hello.
big. Let me turn my
I'll
lasers
help
on.
you out there. There we go.
Yeah, thank you. All right. I made
Take that audio out of context.
Here, let me help with it. Oh, it's so huge. This is actually a functioning 3D printer made using every last bolt and screw and component from the MakerBot Thingamatic. And this was designed in Autodesk Inventor as it was being printed. Like I literally I literally designed the body. And then I goes, okay, well, that was successful. Let's keep going. And then I just kept going and going and going. And it was a fully functioning printer in the end. And I flew it to New York and I met Bree Pettis, the CEO of MakerBot. And they're like, hey, would you like to work remotely? Because I live in the Pacific Northwest and they're over in New York and you can't pay me to move to New York.
At least it's not New Jersey.
Yeah, well, I mean, they have nice beaches, perhaps.
I moved to the Pacific Northwest. Plan on sticking there.
Yeah, 10 years ago, it was nicer. Wound up happening was they said, "Hey, you want to work for us?" Hooray! I can't stop. So I signed contracts, came home, and about a month later, I was like, all right, I'm ready. Give me some work. And they're like, oh, we had an internal restructuring and no longer need your services. And I'm like, okay. And I'd already quit that job, and they had already tried to rehire people, but wound up having to hire 3 people to do what I was doing. One of the reasons I was so eager to leave also is my workload got so high because I was doing technology and AV and PowerPoint and textbook layout and all those things. And I'm like, I only have so many hours to give. And they
Can you
said,
give
well,
more for the same price?
but can you give more? Understand your salary so you won't earn more, but just have no life. And I was like, you need to hire an additional person. You can afford it. There's a yacht floating out on the lake outside this building. You can hire an additional person. They're like, no, you just need to work harder. And I'm like, no. So I left, and then it turns out they had to hire 3 people to do it. And this is actually a setup for the next thing I'm showing. I learned that because I went to a creative staffing agency who said that you have to have a degree to go there. Well, I didn't have a degree, but I applied to be in their directory anyway. And they said, oh, yes, we'd love to have you. And I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah, your last company hired us to replace you, and no single person in our entire directory could. So they had to take 3 off our hands just to pull it off. So yes, we would like you in our directory. And in that I wound up doing contracts for Blue Origin. I produced the PowerPoint presentation for the Dick Rocket. Back in the investment phase, one of the first 3D rendered images was one that I did from the BIM from their CAD file. And I was like, that's a penis. I might have been the first person to say that's a penis too. But
did he fire you on the spot though? Given
I was doing it through a staffing agency as a contractor.
So they filtered. Got it.
So I didn't make it known. I said, smart people design this. I assume that's just a very intelligent penis. So
That's
I wound up.
That's a sentence.
That's pretty good.
But I got a. Because of my 3D printing pedigree, I had designed a whole bunch of things for the Thingiverse website early in its day. I had one of the
I love Thingiverse.
I have one of the oldest, and I'm not going to say most prominent because there's some amazingly talented people there, but I've done a whole heck of a lot of traffic for that website, especially early in the day. In fact, one of my designs wound up on RuPaul's Drag Race, and I found that one was interesting. But I designed a little owl with a top hat. and they printed it and put it on a cane for one of the performers on that show. And somebody sent me a screenshot and was like, "Hey, look at that!" I'm like, "Oh,
That's mine.
so." But no, Microsoft reached out and through that agency, and they were developing the 3D Builder app. I don't know if you interacted with that at all.
No.
It came with Windows. They introduced it with Windows 10, and it's basically kind of a kit bashing application where you can put a bunch of stuff together, make it manifold so it can be 3D printed properly. And Windows has native support for 3D printing as if it was just a normal print driver. It's kind of the slicers, but they asked me
Nightmare.
to develop. Yeah, it is. It's not great.
I use Cura.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every sane person is using either Prusa Slicer or Cura. But or if you have SLA printer, what is it? Michiko?
I don't know.
I don't know what it's called. But they asked me to make a whole series of trophy components that you could use to self-assemble your own 3D printable trophy. You can emboss text into it, and it was 1 week of work in Autodesk Inventor, and it was like $5,800. And they were getting ready to launch this thing, and the application didn't go very far. There's about 30 others, but if anyone who's watching has through the 3D build, what did I delete? I deleted something. Okay. Whoever has the 3D Builder app, if you go to the Add Object panel and there's a group, there's collections of pre-made things, and under trophy parts, I made all of those.
That is your gift to the world.
That's my gift to the world. There was a point where that
You're
app
special.
was pre-installed with Windows 10. They made after they decided to remove the pre-installed apps and push them to the Microsoft Store. But there was a period of time where every up-to-date installation of Windows 10 had files of mine on it. And I was like,
I probably had that at some point because I had the early Windows 10.
3D printing designs, I turned into product designs. I had designed a bunch of Raspberry Pi cases and stuff. There was a documentary called Print the Legend on Netflix. It was about MakerBot and Formlabs and kind of their push to do whatever. It was during the heyday of DIY printing, and in some of the B-roll of that movie that you see, there's actually designs of mine at the MakerBot headquarters. You can see one of which is this 3D printable ukulele.
Whoa.
A little
That's a
special
ukulele?
effects. Yeah, you just string it up, and it has a gear tightening, and it's all 3D printable, every last bit of it. No support materials needed.
That's really cool.
And it has this. The bottom is very thin, so it acts as a diaphragm for amplification. Still sounds like garbage, but
I wouldn't imagine PLA sounds very good. Doesn't have very good acoustic properties.
Being a violin player
PET
myself.
is a lot nicer. Oh well, there you go.
No, yeah,
Well,
being a violin player.
But as a violin player, you don't fret about that.
Shut.
First of all,
No.
I
think I strung him out on that.
I know you're
I'll
all old
doubly
here, but
destroy
dad
you.
jokes, really?
Did Ray die?
jeez.
Hey, there you go.
I'm
You
a-
see his hand like this, like he just like that pun just ruined him.
I'll commit murder.
You're a Rivali, you will.
You will remove my cat guts. They don't
sure
make
that's all
those out of
gonna
cat
remove?
gut anymore, do they? No, I think it's synthetic. Anyway,
No, it's synthetic. But you
it
also
is
die.
synthetic. Yeah, sure. Death, regardless. At least we know that.
Good thing I'm
this-
not a cat anymore.
This is a Raspberry Pi case designed to
not
fit around a
sure
specific brand of Chinese black and white television.
What
I'm not
what does
sure
the writer
that-
say?
We're not sure the cat from last episode. We could send him back in time, and he's the corpse that falls from the ceiling.
Oh, there you go.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, that is what
no.
happens. You're the corpse that falls from the ceiling last episode. We had a skeleton in our ceiling. We didn't know who it was, but now we do. We're just gonna end up sending you back in time later.
I have been feeling dead lately, so that kind of does mesh.
Yeah.
Can I put a wood chipper somewhere?
there's like a realized Raspberry Pi inside of this too, because this is the CAD model. I'll design the components as an analog to model around. But this is a one-off design. Although I did design a Raspberry Pi case that was intended to be mass-produced, and it's made out of actually flat laser-cut acrylic, and or wood, depending on what material. And it's an actual Raspberry Pi case. A company called C4 Labs I worked for doing product design, and you could actually buy a bunch of cosmetic, exotic, manufactured Raspberry Pi cases that I've designed.
Looks like a Chevy Bel Air kind of setup there. Where you got...
It's literally called the Bel Air Deluxe.
See?
Because
car guy.
Yeah.
So then this engine, I would say equal length headers, which would make it a big block V8 if it's a Chevy. They equal the spacing of the headers. Small blocks have them joined at the center.
Yeah. There's a lot of inaccuracies in the representation of an engine. Like you'll see that there's too many exhaust ports on the manifold.
fact that it's also overhead cam.
Which is not correct. So
it's got a timing belt. It's a high tech Bel Air.
It is an artistic embellishment.
Artistic licensing
that only offends those in the know. And
it offends me. You're offensive.
That's not hard, though.
I like to integrate subtly offensive things into everything that I do.
If somebody knows and they're like, "That's not right. You can't do that."
Exactly.
And
they might say, "Oh, you don't know what you're doing," and I'm like, "No, I intentionally did it wrong, just so you would reach out to me. Do you want to be a friend now?"
Oh boy.
This is another.
Friends, I piss you off,
That's
and
how
then
you
we
make
can talk.
friends, mechatronics.
Yes. This is a birdhouse that won some awards.
No,
this is,
I don't like it.
It's an Avali house.
Being a bird, I hate it immediately.
Geens, do you like it?
It
You
needs
like it
no support
internally?
material. It is designed to
No.
print without support materials. It's the main thing is just two parts. There's the bottom, which prints vertically, and then the house prints from its back forward. But on the inside, there's actually a whole
can't see.
structure of
You're not
of bridges.
convincing me.
Geen wants to be in that Avali house.
Well, you can
No.
just have it over
Fuck
here,
it,
just
denial.
for hanging
He's in
out.
denial. He doesn't like to admit it because he's a strong, independent
I
man
will
who needs no
apply
Avali house.
I will apply nuclear warfare.
There you go. That is also
We're
on the thing of
waiting
this.
for that.
If you want to print it, there's also a 3D printable vending machine that has an actual coin acceptor that rejects anything but a quarter. And I designed it.
It
I designed
better vend pilk.
It can.
No.
Okay.
For Christ's sake, no. We tried that at a party at BLFC. And good lord, no.
Those are all internal bridges. So if your printer can manage a 3-inch bridge, it can print this. Because there's an internal scaffolding that gets assembled as it goes. There's even a drain at the bottom for all of your little avian viscera to fall out.
I am personally offended by that.
Birds
Go ahead.
poop
Indoor
and pee at
plumbing.
the same
Come on.
time.
How many birdhouses have indoor plumbing?
Out their cloaca.
Moving
Are we
on.
really having this
Well,
conversation?
thank you very much. I find that very offensive.
Offensive
Mhm.
talking about cloacas? Oh, you find
Yeah.
it really offensive if we talked about cloacal kissing.
Stop!
What?
This is biology. This is biology.
Listen, just because that's how we do that's how we do our business, that doesn't mean we need to talk about it on stream. Holy hell!
It's okay. We're only scaring Geens.
No, you're scaring everybody else.
You're not scaring Geeks, you are horrifying him. There's a difference.
No, I don't get horrified or get scared. I'm more concerned about the general public.
That's how you like to phrase it, but it's you. You're personal. You're just trying to make it feel like
Listen, just because we get nasty doesn't mean you need to publicize it. All right, thank you very much.
Oh Oh boy.
But after I spent my time doing 3D printing and stuff like that, I started, getting back in actual animation and character
freelance
animation.
artist.
I made this model 12 years ago as an exercise to get back into 3D animation because I was mostly a hard surface modeler. Because during the time after MakerBot dropped me, I had to go into full freelance mode, and to keep things going, I worked at a few maker spaces and helped folks out, learning how to do 3D design with the intent of fabricating it. I did a lot of CNC machining and laser cutting and plasma cutting and FDM and SLA and SLS and SLA and all that stuff. But over time, I wanted to, kind of build a foundation of storytelling. Because one of my favorite things to do is to infuse designs with things that evoke, like, oh, you look at that, I get a Bel Air out of that. That's the reaction that I want, because it's using design as a language to communicate a larger meaning, and it gives things substance, and it makes, it feels so good.
Feels good when you put something out and
feels
people
good.
recognize it and they're like, "Yay!
Yeah.
I have it
So
thumbs
nice
up on
of that.
Facebook."
Yeah. So this does tie into what I love about Neos, is that there's so many people who, whether they are more technically proficient or visually or art and animation or everything, we're all kind of cuddling in the same digital puddle where we can help each other achieve excellent outcomes, and we can also kind of compensate for the things that we lack in, and that is the best of people in general, especially creative people, because when you're creating on an island, a lot of times you could just not realize there's another world and you don't get any better. But here you can rub elbows with people who are far more competent with you, and that's okay, because you got your. I've taught myself so many things without a degree that I've basically I'm no longer a graphic designer. I'm an interdisciplinary problem solver.
That's the way you put it on your resume, right
Yeah,
there.
resume
Hey,
writer.
that's the only thing.
You can
Resume
also
speech.
you can also just say you're an interdisciplinary problem, and everyone will take
yes.
it exactly the same.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
but the beauty of it is that I can talk to people who I know just enough that when somebody goes, "Oh, we can't do this because of a poly limit or something like that," some technical reason, I can kind of go, "I think I understand that, and I know how to execute things on my end to accommodate what your requirements are." So I often find myself as kind of a middleware arbiter to be able to kind of go like, "Okay, this yes, this no." I have a lot of experience in all these other fields, but again, no single massive amount of experience in one single thing. But the sideline to all of that, in my time doing architectural work, because one of the things, since I knew a lot about 3D Studio Max, one of the big things that it uses, one of the big things that 3D Studio Max is most used for is architectural previs, because they actually built in like a very powerful light simulation engine in it that is pretty close to the way light works. So you can actually use 3D Studio Max as a way of evaluating the light propagation of sunlight in a structure to get what's called LEED certification, which is an environmental requirement for a structure to use less artificial light and more natural light. And the more natural light that permeates a structure, then the less artificial light that's necessary, thereby using less energy, thereby being more green, and you get that sweet government subsidy.
So that's how that works.
Yes.
And
And
being someone who knows nothing about ray tracing,
Exactly.
So that's how that works. You just need to go through and like stare at things out of ray tracer for long enough, and hey, congratulations, you are environmentally friendly.
Yep.
From
So
a
I actually
simulation.
I did a lot of things for architectural companies where I use 3D Studio Max's tools, and it'll give you lumen output or lux values, and you put light bulbs with our IES profiles everywhere, so everything is supposed to be pretty mathematically close to reality. And then you say, okay, this building is oriented in this position on this coordinate on the planet at this time of year, and you can simulate all sorts of times of day, and it'll give you the data, and it'll show you a heat map of where the light's going, going, and it's great. It saves a lot of people money, and it's such a uniquely niche little tiny thing that even somebody without a degree, if I can do that effectively and provide them with the data, they'll pay big money for that. So I did that for quite a bit, and it kind of filled it filled the gap. But now I actually do 3D modeling and rendering for I'm under a lot of I'm under a lot of NDAs, so I'm realizing I'm live, so I have to be careful. But
for them people
absolutely.
and there, yes.
For wealthy multi-billionaires, I work for a company that creates
Meta?
No.
No, probably not Meta. No, I would have heard about this one.
Well, what I can say is, no, I can't say that. It's for somebody at NVIDIA. We're doing architectural previs. And the cool part about it is I've used Neos as the virtual tour for some of the architectural improvements we do to their structures. We do the interior design, like actual carvings and things all over the place. And I've used Neos.
Well, we don't talk about that here, so
No, definitely not.
Yeah, that's
We definitely
fine.
don't touch that subject.
Yeah, no, I get that. But
especially
regardless,
having a manager who works on Omniverse nowadays. But yeah,
yeah. Well, that's the thing is, I work in the Omniverse at my job now
sure.
too, and it's beautiful, and it's neat. The interfaces.
non-existent.
Get that out of my head.
Listen, working at Magic Leap, I have a manager who actually works on Omniverse and stuff like that. And certainly, like when it comes down to it, like Omniverse is not Metaverse, and they know that. So,
Yes. No, it's an and for those who are even curious, Omniverse is an interconnected platform of standards and implementations to try to get
very questionable.
Yeah, and a lot of it's not even their standards, but the goal is to have this middleware that USD and MDL and
those are ultimately file formats, yes.
Yeah,
and certainly, like if you really want to go down this road, we can talk about that privately, and you're not going to have a good time.
You have the pedigree to absolutely take me to the cleaners on that. I preface this whole thing by the fact that I am a graphic designer and I utilize these tools to execute an end goal. My knowledge is cursory and functional, but not expert.
Completely fair.
I am a graphic designer. I don't know anything. I just know it works.
I was able to with minimal training be functional and make interactive elements using Omniverse code, and then give presentations in Omniverse XR and Omniverse View.
All right, it looks like our writer wants us to have a debate before we go. A quick debate. Quick answers. He has some cards.
I have 4 possible. Should I make one of the guests pick?
We can't have Dean because he's too small. So walk up to Wraith and Megatronic and have them pick.
Yeah, pick one of these 4.
Now, what are these? Are these questions that have occurred in the chat, or
no? These are things that he's come up with.
Ridiculous things that I've written out.
Pass it over this way. Pass it over this way. Let's see.
Yeah.
As we're gonna actually pass it. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, I have my lasers off, so I couldn't do it.
All right. What's the best VR model based on appearance, utility, and/or modability?
Ooh.
Model?
What is the best VR model based on appearance, utility, and/or modability?
I feel like that's like one of those things that needs more clarification. Because
writer.
I think it's that.
All
of those are like opinions.
We've got people
opinion.
Do a lot of
opinion.
Well, that's a
I think that's the point.
It's opinions to debate.
I will say one of the
Like, are we talking about avatars?
Talking about avatars,
model.
a really good moddable one, especially with blend shapes and stuff, would be Rosillo's Canis, considering what you could turn it into.
Yes, the Canis has got blend shapes for days.
Yeah.
It's just
Right.
expensive and we're poor.
One thing I will say, just to reject
poor.
that being, a weird bird and stuff like that, at least like the Diwali and the, obviously the Kitavali as well, given their current status, you can go through and mod the shit out of them. Rye doesn't seem to care, so hey,
Yeah.
multiple different mods of this. Hell, I'm using one of them right now with some face blend shapes and eye tracking and stuff like that. So
I like how Glitch is just standing ominously with the card.
Yeah.
I'm waiting.
Well,
Yes. What is what?
I've got myself a little extension for time, but
We got 2 minutes before our
Yeah.
stream.
well, at the same time, we started late.
Yes, but we got 2 minutes and then we're overtime.
Yeah.
Yay!
We've already been how many times have we gone overtime?
All of them.
We go over.
Once.
Hey, I've gone overtime so many times when I'm doing the workshop stream. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I can see that.
None of you have lives outside of this. Good. All right, we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyone have a life? Anyone going to die? Going to fall asleep because it's like 3 in the morning for
have
them?
I have a 5-minute
I have-
extension, so that's all.
technically 4.
This-
It's okay. Ask my real life talent manager if, hey, can you bring me a bottle of Diet Coke? And they did.
Okay, apparently there's an extension thing here. Let's see what we got. We got another question. If you could cause one of the flagship companies of VR to suddenly blink out of existence, which would it be and why? The choices, the choices of company vanishes. Wait, the choices company vanishes and all
The
products
chosen
suddenly
company.
poof. Yeah, the chosen companies vanish. So if wherever a company you want to blink out of existence, the entire company.
I feel like this is going to be very easily targeted.
I mean,
Oculus.
well, okay, so all right, so I'm
Tencent.
conflicted.
What?
Did you say 10 cents?
10 cents? Yeah, but they're not a VR company.
They kind of are, especially
Yeah,
when
they're
you
not a
start
flagship.
considering
They are a
ByteDance.
flagship company. They do a lot of stuff and other things. So they are a high-end company, but they are not a VR company.
I know.
A VR
I know.
company. I know. But
Yeah.
we all want Tencent to go away, but they're not. They're Chinese.
Okay,
What is that?
so there is a company that is starting to become a flagship called ByteDance, who owns the Pico product
Yeah.
line.
Oh,
That being
yeah.
said, I would not imagine Pico just blinking out of existence. Meta.
Meta.
Just all
Meta,
meta
meta.
stuff vanishes. all
They
the
took
headsets
a big
vanish,
phrase
everything's
that
gone.
some of us who have been working in for a very long time,
Yeah.
and they turned it into something that it was never intended to be. Meta. Straight
I
up.
can agree
for
with
me.
that one. It definitely
Yeah.
would be meta for
Fucking
me.
meta.
Every conversation I have with somebody who's like, "Fuck the metaverse," I'm like, "Oh, what
Do you
has-
even
what
understand
ha-
what the hell this was?
Yeah, like,
What we
oh my
intended it to
goodness.
be.
I have to say,
stupid.
hashtag not all metaverses.
The advantage is as well.
Oh, yeah.
If you get rid of Meta, you also get rid of Facebook anyway. So it's
Yeah,
a double
you-
Hey,
it's-
win-win.
it's two-
Yes!
Two for one deal.
It's two volley, one stone. It's, I mean, it's
Well, I'll say this: if we blink Meta out of existence, at least under the condition that they give the keys of Instagram to somebody else first.
I mean, honestly,
It's
same
a hit
goes
or
for the
miss.
hardware. I mean, like, I'm on the
Yeah.
Quest Pro right now, and like, I very much like the eye and face tracking because it's a compact package, especially when I'm traveling and stuff like that. On my laptop, I like that
yeah.
part. I hate everything else, though. Having
I'm on a
worked there,
Quest
no less.
Pro. My work got me a Quest Pro 2 for work. I'm just like, I need the face tracking because I feel like
Oh,
it's. Yeah, I
we
don't
should
know.
talk after this then,
If
if
it
that's
was-
the case. But
If
yeah.
it was the OG, if it was OG as in Oculus still doing it, I wouldn't have a problem
When
with
Pokemon are
it.
lucky,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like Palmer Lucky, he has his faults. Absolutely, no one can say otherwise. But at the end of the day, he is.
Have you seen
far
his new
from
product?
Zuck in terms
It'll
of the
blow
fact-
your mind.
But he's not a Zuck.
Yeah.
Oh, good lord! He's not a Zuck. Is really the main thing that I think is
yeah,
like
I
the
do-
salient point.
That VR headset though, with explosives strapped to it, that's just
I-
insane.
I'm out.
It's
Quest
an
Pro.
art piece. It's an art
Quest
piece.
Pro.
It is.
Bye,
Yep.
writer. Bye, writer. Everyone say bye to our writer.
Bye, writer.
Bye
See you later,
Bye.
guy.
Bye, Ryder. Don't get hit with the
Bye.
carriage return.
I don't think he understood that joke. It's okay. He'll write a new one.
Yeah, he will.
Yeah.
Right in here.
He'll get hit
He
by a
will.
bus.
3 minutes over. We're
Yay.
overtime. Yay!
Wow.
Woo! And we
Yay.
all say no Zuckerberg.
That's tragic.
Yeah.
Screw Meta.
Well,
That sounds fair.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no! What a shame!
no.
What are we ever going to do
Uh,
without him?
Every one of us doesn't like the Zuck. Oh.
Just give us the name Metaverse on your way out.
Please.
Yeah.
We will be proud stewards of the term.
Yes.
It would be Neo's worlds.
Well, metaverse
Honestly-
is an important thing, and I've actually done academic talks about this sort of thing. Like, metaverse is very important, but we need to treat it like the original internet back in the 1980s. And that's how we're going
Yes.
to succeed, and that is what it is. Meta is not going to run this shit.
Nope.
Apologies for the language, and it's going to be a coalition of companies and going through and settling on standards. That's
Yeah,
pretty much what it
oh,
comes
yeah.
down to.
VR. I really.
Woo!
All right.
VR,
We got a couple technology savvy people. I miss OS VR.
Yes.
Yeah.
I miss OS VR. Razer kind of killed it. Sensix was on a good thing. Razer killed OS VR. But OS VR was coming out to be something really cool, and I think VR space needs something like that again. Like,
Well, for what it's worth, actually, we do have something called OpenXR, which is run
Yeah.
by
Yep.
a
Yeah,
very big
we
company.
do have OpenXR. I was talking about the hardware
Yeah.
of OS VR.
Oh goodness.
OS VR
yeah,
was
that's a
fully
tricky one.
was fully open sourced hardware.
Yeah.
So you could download, and I have done this. I have an OS VR. You can download all of the technical drawings, all of the things, all the circuit boards, all of the wiring diagrams, everything for your OS VR, and you could literally build it. If you just get the components, you can build it yourself.
Well, honestly,
At least-
you know,
I was gonna say, at least we have like one company that's trying to recreate that. We'll see what they manage to do. And I'm sure there's some people in the chat who will probably eviscerate me over this one. But Somnium Space, I know crypto. Oh no, but like Somnium,
You said the
the
C
guy who
word.
runs it. The guy who runs that, he's actually trying to create a fully open source headset. It's going to be a bare minimum, and I think that's fine. But at least there will be an open source option, maybe, depending on how he does that, of course. So,
well, I think
Fingers crossed.
if something like that emerges from an organization that's properly structured and their goal is to get hardware manufacturers imagine if HP like the HP Reverb and the Lenovo whatevers and all those other Windows mixed reality things emerged from Microsoft's efforts to try to create a quasi standard. So if there was an open source foundation that did the development and the talks and showed their chops and said, we got a lot of really smart people who are looking at the future of this. If we could partner with hardware manufacturers and all agree on a way of doing this that enables people to innovate without being slapped down, hell, build it off of Windows mixed reality. I don't mean that seriously, but just take the lessons learned from that.
are a thing.
Yeah,
HPs are very much a thing, and
Yeah.
there are already those in the like Qualcomm is constantly patrolling the space for that sort of thing. But yeah,
Absolutely. So yeah, I think if it's kind of like with like the Blender Foundation is, the end result is what people enjoy, and a lot of people are willing to financially and logically and lend their support and their talents and things to make it better. I think something like that could obviously, speaking as somebody who's not part of the open source software community, I'm speaking on a conceptual level. But if there was like an open XR foundation of sorts that looked at how the hardware side of things, that'd be a very cool thing to see, and
Well, that
get
is
some companies
evolving.
on board.
And Wolf, maybe we should have made this the debate topic because
should
we've
have.
had a lot more to say.
But you know what? We are overtime.
I am out of my league. Also, I will always.
Well, there's a lot to
that.
say about open source and things. This is just what the writer has given us. It is what the writer has given us.
May the mug say something?
No, but yes, go ahead.
I just
Did
the
you-
one thing I would love is for VR to become a little cheaper, just because
Oh God,
some
yes.
of us, I want to be able to do VR. I'm just poor, and I can't do it. But it's just one of the things I've always wanted to be able to do. And I wish that was one thing we could make into cheaper, at least a little bit.
Yeah.
So if I
I
may,
hate Zuck, but he did make cheap
He
VR
did.
headsets.
Yes.
And I will commit my I will confess my crime. I did have a Quest 2 for a time, and I did enjoy it. Okay, first off, it's a last ditch resort. Last ditch
It's
resort.
not a bad experience. It's not bad.
it's not the worst he could ever offer.
All right.
I started it with a Quest 2.
I just
I
don't want to pay
literally
the
went-
Zuck more money.
God, my first VR headset was the OS VR 1.4 HDK. Like that
From
is
Razer?
old school. It was when it was still
Yo.
Sensix.
Yo,
But I have it in my basement. It's got a broken cable. I need to resolder the cable myself because they don't sell them anymore. But it has it still has a single panel. So it doesn't have the dual panel. It has a single panel LCD with the huge screen door effect that they used to have. The webcam that you put on your desk and it has the LEDs in the visor, like the worst tracking ever. It has that. And it will always drift. You know, it's like go sideways. Oh, it was terrible. But we have a lot to say on this topic, but no time. So we are going to have to, as we keep our format, we don't want to go to more 3-hour, 4-hour episodes. You know, like we're going to have to call it an episode. But and anytime, you guys are always welcome back. We are going to have more shows a week, and we're going to bring back previous guests. So please join our Discord. And if you're not already in our Discord, join our Discord. You're going to have the previous guest chat. Previous guests are going to be welcome back in the other show. So we're going to have like a new faces show, which is one of the content things. We're going to have a new faces show, and we're going to have a previous guest show. Previous guest show will probably just sit at podcast style, where we just kind of like hang out like this all on the couch. We don't need to introduce everybody. You guys have all been introduced before. So we could just go sit down on the couch and talk about shit.
I look forward to making politically divisive comments.
I don't know if we can do that.
I don't.
No.
If we can censor all of your
I am
comments
literally
with
joking.
with a
I'm
1
literally joking.
with a 1 kilohertz signal. The moment you start speaking, we hit a button, and then you just
there
go
you
to a
go.
1 kilohertz signal. That's fine.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Just,
would you like an easy way to like go through and sweep out the group here?
We don't need to leave them out right now. We're not going to kill them all. Please don't.
But it'll be entertaining.
Don't kill them. We need them
Well,
back.
I'm not saying you're gonna kill them.
At
I'm
least let
saying
me
you
sign
just
a
sweep them
waiver.
out.
just saying that
No.
options.
Before
I mean, you just go through and
the
bleed people
Avali-
out. There you go.
Before the Avali
Listen.
murders everybody, we do have to.
Listen. I was not gonna murder everybody. I was just giving you the option to murder people yourself. Okay?
Sure.
It's different.
What were the threats of nuclear warfare again?
Only so unless Wolf has the The digit on the button.
All right. So
Consensual murder. That sounds like a prog rock
Yeah.
album.
before
does.
this turns into a bloody studio, we are going to you're gonna call it. Guys, please join our Discord. Follow us. We are now gonna be trying to get at least up to 100 followers. We are going to look for new goals. We are gonna have some things once our affiliate goes through. You guys can subscribe. We'll have special subscriber content and other random stuff. We have to talk about exactly what we still have to talk about exactly what we're gonna do for subscribers. Other than having that warm feeling in your heart that you are supporting us and making this more possible. Maybe you could yell at us. Maybe you could do something for our bumps that we're gonna end up still making. Major thing we need still, we're gonna call out. We need editors for our edited VODs and anything else we're gonna film. So if anyone knows how to edit video, contact either me or Newt or anyone on the staff here. Please, we need editors. We can't pay you, but we can pay you in love.
Because that's all I get anymore. Sometimes, actually, not even.
And to think
It's
I
an
was about to offer
investment.
my
It's
service.
an investment. We can pay you.
We can pay you in
we can-
exposure.
Wait.
Yes, we will pay you in exposure. Exactly. We will expose. We will help you get other jobs. Please help. No, we won't. We
I can
can't.
people-
In fact, we'll help you lose other jobs.
I edited
you
tens of
edited
thousands of
thousands.
hours of video.
I can pay people in
It's not worth
squeaks.
it.
Gaines can pay you in squeaks.
Oh dear.
Here we
And with
go.
that, yeah, and with that, we are going to just more beg for your support. Thank you for watching. We will be back next week. Hopefully, this past everyone in America. Hopefully, we had a good Turkey Day this past week. I should have mentioned that, but I didn't. I ate food, and
And so
hopefully
did
you did
you.
too. Hopefully, you did. Not everyone did.
Why are you looking at me?
I wasn't in America for that.
Did you at least eat
I
turkey?
missed out. No.
Oh, that's sad.
Oh, okay. I had turkey schnitzel.
It's close
Ooh,
enough.
That sounds good.
Close enough, yeah.
That'll
Close
count.
enough. Close
I
enough.
had ham.
It's pretty normal over here, so nothing special.
So thanks again for watching, and we will see you all next week.